table of contents for the for this module, we'll be looking at the purpose. We'll introduce the strategic and performance management model. We'll also look at strategic management tools, which entails PESTEL. You are aware of this. SWOT, you are aware of this. Porter's 5 forces. You're also aware of this. Porter's value chain analysis, and also Porter's generic model, and also Porter's diamond model. We'll also be looking at benchmarking, Boston Consulting Group, that's BCG matrix model. We'll be looking at Ansoff matrix, gap analysis, business capacity analysis, resource audit. So that's 12. Okay, they are not up to 14. I beg your pardon. They are 12. All right. So for strategic management tools, we have 12. Then for performance management tools, we're looking at CSF, critical success factors, key performance indicators, KPIs. A lot of us are aware of this. Balance scorecard, he has tested this like once or twice. A lot of us are aware of this. Then value for money audit. And finally, economic value added. Okay, so 12.5, 12.5. I said 14.6. Well, that's good. So let's run. Strategic performance management tools, we should be able to understand how to apply them at the end of the lecture. So we need to understand and apply these models to prevailing issues a company has currently. And in the context of the case study, we are giving these models to use to apply graphically. So we need to understand how the model works and how to integrate it into the question that has been given to you. And we also understand and apply performance management tools. So we should be able to understand the strategic management tools after this class and the subsequent class, and also the performance management tools. They are very essential, integral, and practical in the case study exams, and also in our real life exams, real life office engagements and scenarios we meet in the office. We can apply them graphically, not just to pass exams, but also these models work in the real world, maybe more in developed countries, but I think developing and underdeveloped countries are trying to align them with their models, because where these models work are in economics where I think things work. There are rules, there are laws, but where in developing and underdeveloping countries are still coming up, integrating them will have to do with some fine-tuning and tailoring towards the situations and the practical realities of the developing and the underdeveloped world. So by way of introduction, business strategic and operational analysis in the case study exams involves understanding and analyzing from the given scenario a business strategic trust and operational efficiency that supports. So what does that mean? So we have business situations in the case study exams that are practical. So we need to understand how to apply that scenario with the trust given to you by the board or whoever it is you are reporting to support your strategic and operational objectives by applying most of these models. So what the model do is to support your decision, your analysis, your findings, to be able to make decisions based on these models. So they don't take over your analysis, they help support your analysis. That is what it means. So the strategic trust and operational efficiency that supports the attainment of a business strategic and operational objectives is what this model tend to support. So please feel free to interject. Let's make it interactive as possible. If you have an issue, please feel free to interject, raise your hands, and I'll stop. Because these models, he brings them, and if you don't understand the nitty-gritties and the components, it may be hard applying it. It's even worse when some people go into the hall and they find out they don't even know the model at all. It can be disastrous. So let's make it interactive. Anywhere you don't understand, please interject, and let's talk about it. Okay, so the first model will be in form of summary and look at maybe one or two examples briefly to buttress that model. So the first model we'll be looking at is PESTEL. This is a popular model. Everybody knows it. It has featured in several exams, and we know how to apply it. But by way of recap, the political environment, PESTEL means PESTEL, the political, economic, social, technological, ecological, or environmental, and legal. At times it's twisted PESTLE. So whatever way, whether the TLE or TEL, whatever way it is, whichever comes first is fine, based on your understanding. For the political environment, we have government instability as one of the components. An example is threat of government actions like strikes, nationalization, indigenization of some corporations, like we saw the case of NEPA move to PHCN, move to privatization by KEDCO and all the discos. And we have issues of war, unrest, terrorist attacks, activities, insurgencies, kidnapping. These are all activities that speaks to the political environment. It's practical, and it's important in volatile or dictatorial political systems to be able to align these situations practically in the case. So when you talk of political environment, these are practical examples of what could transpire. Then we have economic environment, the macroeconomic variables affecting firms. So macro looks at a holistic view, the broader, the wider context, while the microeconomy looks at the intricate areas within the environment of the business. So micro is internal, is a bit lower, while macro looks at the general economy. So the variables affecting the firms include growth rate, inflation, exchange rate. These are the macro environment that bedevils the economy. For example, the Nigerian environment is highly influenced by exchange rate, interest rate in the banks, unemployment, labor availability, cost, tax, fiscal policies like the current fiscal policy that is going on taxes, the presidential support and initiative on tax reforms, and subsidies, subsidy removal, subsidy coming back, all those conversations around the value chain and value proposition on what subsidy does, what subsidy brings, what it's not going to bring. All that talks about the economic environment and how it affects the business that you're talking of, or the business scenario in front of you, whether in the case study exams or in your real life application. We also look at the economic blocks. The economic blocks look at the areas that affect the economy very, very practically. So the petroleum industry, the agricultural industry, those sectors, the banking, are those blocks that make up the economy or fragments of our country. So this influences investment decisions very, very practically. And that's what the economic environment is all about. So we look at the social, cultural environment, attitudes, values, beliefs, customers, employees, citizens, work, leisure patterns. These influence how products and services are moved in the market. It influences the demand and the supply forces. The patterns are influenced by socioeconomic environment and the people that are there. So religion influences what people buy, how they see services, and it impacts the business you are looking at practically. The age, the demographics affects how a business is conducted. So it's very important to understand how to align these factors into our analysis in the case study exams and the practical life scenarios where we have such models we are supposed to use. So technological environment, currently the country is driven by IT and affects all organizations, looking at the rate of change in innovations, automation, moving from manual processes to automated processes, research and development incentives, workforce skills, make or buy decisions. All these influences investment decisions, and the more IT compliant you are nowadays, the more and faster your businesses thrive. I was having a conversation with a mentor yesterday, and he was talking about how MoneyPoint has come with their technology to affect the commercial banking sector. They've so influenced the normal businessman that They don't want to hear about traditional banking. They just want their processes aligned and alerts gotten quickly. Transactions are seamless. And they are beginning to influence the value chain. They are beginning to influence the demographics. A lot of people don't want to go to the bank. They just tell you, oh, pay money point. And that has integrated. So the technological environment has been influenced by such incoming entrants. Thank you very much. Let me stop there. I think Julie has something to add to that conversation. Please go ahead, Julie.
So I was wondering, because here for technological environment, you mentioned research and development incentives, workforce skills, make or buy options. Isn't this under social?
Thank you very much. So under social, we're looking at the patterns. We just looked at that. So what influences the technological environment under research and development, workforce skills, make or buy decisions? So for research and development incentives, now when people go into research, one of the challenges, let me use Money Point and how he researched and developed, sat down into his research and development coven to come up with one or two challenges. So the guy was an IT person with Access. An Access Bank had an issue, somehow they laid him off. So he sat down to say, okay, how can he do better and stay on the job? So he went into research and development, and what incentivized his decision was to sit down and block those loopholes, those openings, those problems that commercial banks couldn't solve. He incentivized himself by motivating himself to say, okay, let me research and ask questions. And what MoneyPoint did was to go into the market, give questionnaires, asking people, what are your challenges with banking? Depositing money, collecting money, depositing money, collecting money, transferring money. So that research and development brought him a niche, an edge. So the incentives now has given him a business, has given a problem, he has given him a space in technology. So you can see Money Point now, you can't speak about fast cash, reception of money transfer without talking of Money Point in Nigeria. So that's about research and development I'm speaking to. So for workforce skills, we're looking at how you can automate systems. So for example, where accountants do manual Excel posting, day-to-day transactions, it's susceptible to errors. But then when you have a software that you just post your petty cash, post your invoices, you post your sales, you post your orders, automatically your financial statement is generated at the end of the month. And that makes for other processes and units in your entity. So integrating an ERP that captures all data and at the end of the day produces you financial reports at the end of the month, at the end of the year, makes your workforce skills improve in the sense that your team get experience in those areas, and also you make your work processes very seamless and fast. Then looking at make or buy decisions where people sit down on boards to analyze and manually get data, especially non-financial. Most of these make or buy decisions can be influenced by automation in the sense that technology has data-driven, and whatever you give into it, like is the Gigo system, googling what's this Gigo garbage in, garbage out. Now, whatever it is imputed with gives you automated support to make your decision. So make or buy options are no more a headache with technology. The coming of technology has made these decisions easy because you have decision support systems in form of softwares. So you input your questionnaires and it gives you answers, and the answers help you support those decisions you want to make. At the end of the day, it influences decisions, and they come by research and development. So that's the area that may look like traditional accounting, but then technology has come to make these areas very seamless and easy. I don't know if I spoke to your answers.
Yes.
Are you okay with that? Okay, fantastic. All right, you're welcome. Cool. Okay, so the environment and the ecological influences, look at legislation, pollution, noise, whatever impacts the environment negatively. So we're looking at moving from hydropower to green energy that is sustainable. So the ecological influences, environmental factors, looking at ESG currently, economic, social, and the governance aspect of this emerging area. has come to stay. So we are looking at raw materials depletion, genetic modified foods that reduces carbon intakes, reduces fats, important for industries with environmental impact or reliance on natural resources. So the ecological and environment factors to help sustain humanity is what is driven at. When you hear this global warming, talking about global warming, it's the risk of the global issues affecting the ecology or environmental factors that may impact human beings. And everything is driven at whatever will make positively the human life extended and not to reduce man's lifespan. So whatever it is that would negatively impact the environment is frowned against, and whatever will help move the human race forward. Looking at the environment, smoke, destruction of roads, pollution by waste and all that, all these are discouraged to ensure that the environment is sustained. Ecological influences are positive on human beings, and natural resources are not destroyed by fossil fuels or raw materials like crude oil and all that. So this legislation and this conversation around the ecological areas and environmental factors is coming to stay and is ensuring sustainability. And that speaks to the ecology. So these areas are very simple to talk about. And finally, the legal environment. You're trying to avoid reputation risks, litigation, any issues that have to do with court sittings, dragging your company on the social media, having negative publicity. These are areas we want to avoid for the business. So laws and regulations should be abided by. Tax system, taxes should be remitted as at when due. Employment laws, labor laws should not be flaunted. Environmental laws, health and safety laws, legislation, you want your company to align and ensure that they comply with every legislation and legal framework instituted by government. So this influences strategic decisions like relocating the business, moving from the north. For example, most of the headquarters in the banks now, or the headquarters of banks, have moved to a particular location to ensure that they legally comply with maybe business, competition, and trends. So these areas really influences business, and the PESTEL have some areas. It's not a 100% model that captures everything a business speaks to, but then substantially it speaks to most of the areas a business might be influenced positively or negatively. So looking at this model, a table summarizes the factors within each category, which is the PESTEL we looked at, and that is in the study text. You see the table there. I didn't snap it here, but then that table just shows a snapshot of what we did, or we just spoke to, we just discussed on, and it's clear just with examples on practicals. We also did here, but then there are also limitations. It's not 100%. Like I said, the model does not capture everything of a business. There are always limitations, like the qualitative, which is subjective, generally looks quantitative in measurement. So what we are looking at with PESTEL is subjective depending on those factors. So there are other areas that may not be captured in the PESTEL, and other models may speak to that. We may not go into the limitations, but generally it lacks quantitative measurement. Exactly. So it speaks to theory and not numbers. And that's what we mean by it lacks quantitative measurement. It's also limited by objective. It doesn't allow for objective and rational analysis of relative importance of other factors. So what does that mean? It means that if you don't look at those 6 components, PESTEL, other areas are irrelevant, and that is why it's limited to just those 6 areas. So there are other areas of the businesses of a business that is affected. You could talk of processes and systems, which is captured in the balanced scorecard model. So 1 or 2 areas, of course, every model has its limitations. So harness the substantial area that impacts your business and leave the others. So generally, a broad idea of the macro environment is what PESTEL looks at. So the external factors are beyond the control of companies. They can only adapt to them. There's nothing they can do about politics. For example, if there's political problem or political issues in that country, there's nothing they can do. They can only adapt to whatever it is. The PESTEL speaks to the external environment, but not the internal environment of the company. And the SWOT helps address that, which is the strength and the weakness, mostly to speak to the internal environment of the company. So another area is equal influence assumption. The PESTEL doesn't account for the various impact of different factors, which is true. So there are other assumptions that influence the company, and PESTEL does not speak to them. It also have a lack of holistic perspective. Independent evaluation may not reflect the interdependence between political situations affecting the economy and also the social aspect. So politics affecting economy and economy affecting politics does not speak to the PESTEL holistically. It speaks to them independently. And it's difficult to isolate these factors because most of them are intertwined. When there's politics, most of the time, the economy goes down because money if there's an incumbent government, he might use most of the money to run his election. So you can see the economy and politics are intertwined. And it's difficult to isolate these political, economical, social, technological, and the E and the L factors. Yeah, please, Julie, please go ahead. Let me hear your thoughts. I had to learn.
This holistic perspective, is it supposed to be a limitation? Like when it lacks quantitative measurement, is it one of the limitations too?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Though in the exam, you may not be asked of the limitations. It's just for you to understand that the PESTEL analysis is not perfect. It's not 100% model that has no flaws. So speaking to your question, yes. So this is part of the limitation, just bringing your attention to it so that in an exam scenario where they are asked to maybe use another model to support this model, you know that, okay, these are the limitations of PESTEL and you know which model to speak to practically. Yeah, so it has limitations, and these ones we are speaking to are the limitations.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, all right, you're welcome. So these are the brief limitations, but then practically speaking, it's a practical model and it works in the real business world. Just a few limitations, and if I will score the model, I will say 70% of the model works in real business scenarios. So lack of the holistic perspective and trying to integrate those components together, not in isolation, but looking at them together. It's very important to merge this, but under exam condition, you have to extrapolate them, make sure they are working differently as it is in the model. Then any other model you are asked to use, please use it that is looking more holistically to your question. Okay, so that's for PESTEL. I don't know if we have any questions generally before we rush to SWOT. So that's generally about PESTEL will be running. Any questions?
Okay.
I believe it's clear, it's understandable.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I have one clarification I need to make. For political, I seem to liken political and economic part of PESTEL to be together. Like the political decisions that could influence or disturb, should I use that word, the free flow of companies, and the economic situation too, are they not the same?
Fantastic question. So in matching them together and their interdependencies is very important. So they are not the same, but they could influence each other. So looking at a scenario like political elections are going on and funds seems to be tied down, and maybe products or services are not moving in the market. So you can see they are interdependent. And so in answering your question, yes, they are different, but they could affect each other. So they may not be the same in a particular scenario, but they could be the same in another practical scenario. So understanding the context of that case is very important. So where to apply political and economical together, read the case. If you can intertwine them together is fine. But if they are different, the economy is speaking to another thing, the political situation that time is speaking to, then go ahead and speak to. So there's no hard and fast rule. It just depends on the scenario. They could provide, like in 2014, he provided a question and said, this country has this, so. And in that 2014 question, you will see that the political and the economy were working in tandem. And in subsequent diets he tested, you see that the political environment did not influence the economical environment. So it all depends on the scenario in answering your question. I don't know if I answered it and you're okay with the answers.
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, so any other question so that we'll run to SWOT? Let's run to SWOT. We don't have time. I want us to at least cover a substantial number. Yes, please, ACA, go ahead. ACA,
yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening, ACA. I can hear you.
Yes, sir. How do questions with PESTEL come? Like, okay, are you going to discuss it later? Subsequently?
No. Good. No. Go ahead. Yes. So I like that question. How do questions of PESTEL come in the exam, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Very good question. So there are one or two diets in his past question. He didn't say use PESTEL model. He said evaluate the external environment. Immediately you hear that, just know it's PESTEL. Or he said evaluate the not external environment now, the macroeconomic environment. You know you are using PESTEL. So when he says evaluate the internal environment, you know you are speaking to SWOT, especially the strength and the weakness, because opportunities and threats are external. So when you see those phrases, those words, yes, just know that he's telling you to use PESTEL. It is not coming out directly. Yeah. Good question, ACA. Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, so let's run through number 2 quickly. SWOT analysis introduction. Is used for corporate appraisal in strategic management. A very powerful tool, very practical. I'll give it almost 90% accurate. It identifies key factors affecting strategic choices. Looking at the strengths of a company, its internal capabilities, core competencies, and that's what strength speaks to. So take note of that. Strength is internal. Your core advantage, competitive advantage, your niche, your edge above other companies, your special area that nobody competes with you. And that's internal. It's a strength. I learned Coca-Cola has a special taste. I don't take Coke, but I learned it's different. Pepsi does not have that taste. Pop Cola does not have that taste. I don't know how true it is. And some people don't take that Coke. They don't take any other product except Coke. Yeah, see. So ACA Zakaria, give us your testimony. Is that true?
It's true. It has a fine blend.
At least 2 bottles, though.
No, Coke is different. It has a fine blend.
Even today, I drank 2 bottles.
ACA, we are aging.
It's addictive. That's true.
We are aging, so you need to stop. I've not taken. It's addictive. I've not taken Coke in the last 20 years, so I beg you, help yourself. Yes, in the last 20 years, Coke has not tested it. In fact, sugar, I've stopped it. So, but then, yeah. I'm serious. Yes, now the more you age,
I'm even
as you are approaching. But this one, this year is taking.
Good die. I'll drink my Coke very well. Good die.
Yes, I know, but you need to manage
enjoy this life very well. You can exercise, but that Coke I will drink it too.
Yes, now this one ACA is taking 2 bottles. I beg you, please reduce it. Sugar is too much in that thing. Julie, you to reduce the Coke. I beg you.
Not epidemic like once a week, maybe once a week, but I still drink my Coke.
My best is Zobo. I do my special Zobo at home. And I take my Zobo, yes. Yeah. Exactly, it's healthier. So speaking about the strength of Coke, speaking about the strength, you guys have validated it that they have that special taste. Nobody has it. So that speaks to the strength. Yes. It speaks to a strength. Pepsi does not have it. Pop Cola don't have it. So you can see that's a niche they carved for themselves. It's a core competence. Looking at weakness also is internal. The internal resource and deficiencies that bedevil you and makes your product or services not to be acceptable outside. So that internal resource or deficiency or bottleneck is a challenge that must be looked inwards and resolved to harness the strength. Is very important. And every company has a strength and weakness. It's just how to harness it and resolve it that matters. So for the opportunities and threats, they also speak to the external environment. It's just that the PESTEL did not capture opportunities or threats. It captures mostly problems or issues. So opportunities look at external factors for strategic advantage. So external factors, you are looking at competition. It's an example. Then threats are new entrants or new companies coming into the business. Those are potential threats. You have a company floated and so for example, Pop Cola was a threat when Coca-Cola were in the business, but then in the north, they've come to share the market. A threat has actually crystallized into an actual big threat for the Coca-Cola company and the market in the north especially. So opportunities and threats are external, and the only way to mitigate it is to stiffen competition, enhance your value chain and your distribution channels to make sure your product is well received in the market, and other mitigants that will help you stay and fight for your own market share. Very important. So keynote in the SWOT analysis is the strength and the weakness is internal. Take note of that. Then the opportunities and threats are external. So we're looking at strength and weaknesses internal, which is opportunities and threats external. So it summarizes external and internal analysis for developing your appropriate strategies to be able to mitigate and solve these issues. Very important. If you're able to identify your strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, you'll be able to address your problems heads on. So based on the fifth, between internal factors and external factors, it aims to maximize strengths for opportunities and minimize weakness against strengths. So I take that again. The aim is to maximize strength for opportunities and minimize weakness against stress. What does that mean? So your strength is internal, so you harness external opportunities to push out your strength and get more advantage. While you minimize your weakness against threats, so internally you have weakness, but those threats are coming to exploit your weakness, so you try to address the weakness to be able to sustain the threats. There will always be threats in the market. So the strength speaks to opportunities and the weakness speak to threats. It's very important we take note of this. So also looking at internal strengths and weakness, a honest assessment of the business structure, its capabilities, its resources, human capital, and also the skills are very important. So for example, we do in our performance appraisal 360-degree feedback. What does that mean? So employees, consultants, customers, competitors should tell you what they think about you. And that's in form of surveys. You see most companies do that. Businesses do that. You run a transaction online, they say, please let us know what you think about this transaction. You buy something on Jumia and they immediately reply you, please. They want your feedback. Why? They want to harness their weakness and improve their strength. So those feedbacks are in form of 360 degrees. That's what it means. And what are they using that to do? To improve. They said the greatest room in this world is that of improvement. So all these surveys, 360 feedback, in the office, we do that quarter by quarter, half year by half year. You want to know how you are doing with other managerial staff. If you are at management level, managerial position, or you are at officer level, you have feedback from your colleagues, your peers. They review you and tell management that this is how you are. It's a feedback to help you improve. And that's what the SWOT analysis is all about. Improvement is what the SWOT wants to drive. Very important. So the rationale is to discover, maintain, and leverage strengths and reduce or remedy weakness. So strengths are competitive edges and weaknesses are disadvantages or demerits. So a characteristic can be a strength or weakness depending on the context. So for example, M&As are an example of strength and weakness. And mergers and acquisition could look at the strength in merging and in acquiring a weakness in acquiring a company that's maybe going down, but then they always have a strength in that company that is going down to merge. So mergers and acquisition are an example of strength and weakness harnessing in a business. So looking at external opportunities and threats, they are created by external forces, like we saw in PESTEL. So external opportunities and threats are looked at in the light of PESTEL. So identify current and potential future factors, and they speak to opportunities for growth, profitability, revenue, drive, and efficiency in processes, while threats looks at areas like stress. And that's why stress management has come to stay. Economic downturns, aging population, and you're not able to have a strong workforce. A negative economy that is driven by maybe dollar, competition, new entrants, influx of a lot of new people in the market. So firms should explore opportunities and develop strategies to reduce threats. So prioritize factors and create strategies based on SWOT analysis, like the SWOT strategy matrix used to document and identify strategy. So a general application of SWOT, a table in the study text summarizing strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats are provided in the study text. You could look at it, but I think it's a much more simple approach. And guidelines for effective SWOT analysis are you use specific verifiable statements of intent in your mission or your vision statements. Those are effective strengths. Price difference and value judgment in your value chain. List factors in order of importance when you are doing your risk assessment to identify high risk impact areas, threats, and opportunities for prioritized actions. Also highlight all high priority issues that could bedevil your company for subsequent action plan and treat them based on the Eisenhower matrix. The Eisenhower matrix or quadrant speaks to important issues, but they are not urgent. And there are urgent issues that are not important. So that Eisenhower quadrant would help also speak to the SWOT. And ideally, analysis should be at the business activity or project level for more practical actions. So we've looked at SWOT and PESTEL quickly. Any questions? I would like to speak to two examples before we run. Since strength and weakness are internal, then opportunities and threats are external, which speaks to PESTEL. So if we don't have any question, let's look at a brief example on PESTEL. So for example, a global tech company, let's call it Smart Hub Solutions, plans to expand its software solutions into a new country. And that country is, let's say country X. Let me don't call any country's name. So this global tech company, Smart Solutions or Smart Hub Solutions, plans to expand its software solutions into a country or a new country. It's currently in a country, it wants to move out. So in using PESTEL analysis, the first component is PESTEL. Now, the country it's moving into, Smart Hub is moving into, is a pro-business or tech business with low corporate taxes, but has stringent regulation on data privacy and cybersecurity. So that taxes now is a political issue you may want to explore. That okay, coming into that country, there is low taxes, we can harness that politically, but strict regulations on data privacy and cybersecurity is one area we must also adhere to their laws. So the political area is sorted out, and the component mainly in that country is taxes. So global tech company is okay politically, or that with that political component. Then for the economy may be growing with a rise in disposable income and a robust digital infrastructure, which can support high-tech solutions and tech-savvy people and the populace in that country. So economically, there is space for global tech or smart hub solutions. So this is how to integrate a case scenario provided to you in the question. So looking at the social demography, there is increased consumer demand maybe for digital solutions, for local workforce that lack sufficient technical skills, meaning Smart Hub may need to invest in training. So that's the social area of PESTEL that works. And for technology, talking about the political area of data privacy and cybersecurity, Smart Hub may look at country X and adopt cutting-edge technologies, including AI. AI has come to stay. Everything now is AI. And also cloud computing. Cloud computing looking at having data saved on the cloud. In case of crashes, you have your data reinstalled. Talking about business continuity and issues of disruption. So technology offering a good market for Smart Hub in country X is a good one. And the environmental areas Smart Hub we want to look at is like data centers. Strict environmental regulation they will need to adhere to green energy standards. And this may increase operational costs, but then it drives sustainability. Also compliance with laws, looking at the illegal area, compliance with the laws of the land, local software licensing for a tech company like Smart Hubs, adhering to GDPR. In Nigeria, we have NDPR. GDPR is the Global Data Protection Regulation. NDPR, the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation. So privacy standards are critical to successful operations of every high-tech company. So what's the decision for Smart Hubs is to enter country X based on these parameters and components we've analyzed, and it allocates resources to ensure legal compliance, environmental sustainability, and the training of local staff to meet social and technological needs. So having done your PESTEL analysis, it should drive you towards actionable, insightful contributions, conclusions, and actionable recommendations. This is very important. So that's a brief example on how to apply PESTEL. PESTEL is practical and it's easy to apply. Then looking at SWOT, a practical example, you could look at a bakery chain. Let's use 212 that went out of market in Kano. 212 wants to grow its business by opening new stores in neighboring cities. I believe they are still in Kaduna, but let's use 212 as a study. So the SWOT analysis for 212, for example, could be a strong brand recognition. In the whole of Zoo Road, that time is 212 bread. You heard of that if you are in Kano. So that strong brand recognition is there. I was also a fan of them. If it's not 212 bread, I won't buy any other bread. Then also high quality products with a loyal customer base. So because of that strong brand, I became loyal every time I want to buy 212 bread. So that's a strength. And also well-established supply chain for fresh ingredients. You know, they brought it so down that even young boys on the streets hawk their products. So you don't have to enter 212 bakery. You buy. So as you are driving, you just stop. Give me bread. You just pay, and you drive off. That's a strength. There are some other classic breads. There are some other classic breads like Grand Square. You can't get it on the street like that.
You said strength is meant to be internal. So is that one a strength opportunity or opportunity?
No, it's not an opportunity. It's an opportunity you harness to a strength. So it's internal, but it's harnessed into, a strength. So the strength is internal, but it could culminate in an opportunity that is showing outside. I believe you understand that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a strength, but its external impact is giving you that edge. So speaking to those examples, the supply chain for fresh ingredients, for fresh supply of those products help harness that strength. And also weaknesses, looking at 212, for example, who have limited they don't even have online presence or e-commerce platform. But there are some shops, you could just order, they'll bring your bread to your office. 212 may not have that, so that's a weakness. Then they may be looking at just within Zoo Road and some short places, a small marketing budget, making it harder to reach a wider audience, like other bigger brands like Grand Square. You could just stay in your house and order Grand Square, and they bring it for you. So those are weaknesses you could speak to the fact that they may not have, and they can sit down to address that. Then also opportunities, the rising demand of this 212 in that local area is an opportunity, and other areas outside Zuro that could be harnessed. So like Julie spoke to, she said the opportunities. So for example, those boys now can carry that bread from Zuro and maybe start hawking it at BUK. So you can see the opportunities now for expansion. They have boys at BUK, they have boys as far as Jaba, Paniso, within Kano City. So you can see there are opportunities for entering into new demographics in the Kano metropolis. So the potential to collaborate with also local restaurants, local shops, supply them so that they can reach the consumers is also an opportunity. And also increasing trend of online. So they could explore, maybe put in Alan, there's Jumia food now, Konga food, you can order food online. So they can also go online and say, yes, I can't eat such food anyway.
I know about Instagram. I don't know about Jumia and all that. Onga, really?
Yes, there's Jumia foods. You can order food on Jumia.
Are they in Kano?
Who is that?
Sir, are they in Kano or in Abuja? That Jumia food. Are they in Kano?
Food. Yes, I learned you can order in Kano. I've not tried it anyway, but I learned they are in Kano.
Oh, okay. In Abuja, I know. I know they used to be in Abuja.
Yeah.
That Jumia food.
Yes. Jumia foods, yes. They are in Abuja, they are in Lagos, but I learned they are in Kano. I don't know how true it is.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so this trending online food delivery can also boost sales. You have revenue. Yes, so anything that will boost your sales, please do it. So looking at threats, like new competitors, 212 has left the market. There are new breads now in that Zuro area that I know. Like Sufi Mart have one very nice bread. They have a big facility in Zuro, very shiny, and it's 24 hours. So you go there, you shop 24 hours. Sufi Mart. Yes, it's 24 hours. Malam Zakaria, you know the place. Opposite ShopRite.
Sir, Okay. Yeah. That new shop, I know it. You know, I don't know really Kano. I don't really know Kano much. Yeah, but I know the place. I know the place you're talking about. That new shop.
Because
I know. I was inside. Nagane shop. I know they do.
Yeah, so it's close to my office, so I pass there most of the time. So they do 24 hours and they have very nice bread. So you can see new competitions like that. They've kicked out 212 and other breads. So 212, I'm sure part of the threats were rising ingredient costs. They keep changing their prices, reducing the quality, reducing the size, and also other supply chain. Yes, exactly.
It's better to touch quantity, but don't go to quality, please.
Yeah,
quality. Meant to touch it, that kills it.
They started doing that. They started touching quality also, and it drove them out of the market in Kano.
People will surely adjust to buy it, but the moment you touch quality, it's over.
Yeah. Please go ahead, Zakaria. You're talking about
Grand Square bread. Yes. I feel like Grand Square bread, when it came out newly, it tastes better than now. Exactly. When it came out newly, those days before they came to Kano, it tastes far better than now online.
That's very true. And that's what Julie is saying, that they have touched quality.
You lose the customers.
They've touched quality.
You lose the customer eventually,
Exactly, which is a challenge. So you can see how the SWOT has come to speak to the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, and also looking at health-conscious consumers who are driven by vegetables and other products. So at a particular age, we are warned that you should start reducing your flour intake. So you start gravitating towards veggies to reduce all kinds of diseases that are associated with aging, So exactly. So looking at the decision on 212 now, based on the SWOT analysis, so they can decide to invest in digital marketing, electronic commerce, and reduce their physical presence so that they can go global and drive revenue also. Looking at the value chain and what they bring, looking at its weakness in online sales. They can also explore partnerships with other delivery platforms to capitalize on growing opportunities for online food delivery. So focusing on brand differentiation to counter competitive threats could help 2 and 2, like we used as a case study with the SWOT analysis. So basically what the SWOT analysis does is for you to make decisions, not just analysis. Some analysis stop at analysis. So what decision are you making based on that will add value to that company? That is very, very important. So using those 2 examples, we're supposed to stop 10 so that we can rest, but then can we look at one more model so that on Wednesday we are supposed to have break, but because we don't have time, please, we may have to conclude this strategic model on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So please, let's have lectures on Wednesday. Yeah. All right. Thank you for concurring. So can we run through Porter 5 forces?
Tomorrow. Tomorrow is
audit. Yes. Tomorrow is audit. Okay. We can go through Porter's 5 forces, right?
So.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. So I think I have 2 concurrencies. I don't know, Rufiat and Aisha, you guys okay? Let's just rush through Porter 5 sources. I noticed they've been quiet. Oh, okay. Okay, she's awake. Fantastic. Okay, Rufiat is no longer on the call. Okay, so let's look at Porter's 5 forces. These 3 models he has tested consistently. PESTEL, SWOT, he has also tested Porter's 5 forces. So there are potential repeats, but let's look at it briefly, then we'll shut down for the night. Porter's 5 forces analyzes industry competition and profitability. So the 5 forces look at competition generally, and those are threats in the SWOT analysis. Threats from new entrants and the rivalry among existing competition is what this model is all about. So we're looking at the threat of new entrants first as one of the components. Number 2, the bargaining power of suppliers. Then the bargaining power of buyers, the threat of substitute products, and these are the 4. So let me go back to it again. Number 1, the threat of new entrants. So these components are like the PESTEL. So you need to understand them. Number 2, bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of buyers, and threat of substitute products. So take note of that. There are 4. Threat of new entrants, bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of buyers, and threat of substitute products. Yes, please. Somebody interjected. Can you please go ahead?
You said there are 4. There are 5. Rivalry among competitors.
Oh, yes. Apologies. So we have rivalry among existing competitors. Yes. Threat of new entrants. Okay. Yes. Existing competitors. Bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of buyers, and threat of substitute products. Thank you for that correction. So we have 5 forces or 5 issues in the market. And that is why they are the 5 forces. So we have existence of competitors. So for example, Lux and Imperial Leather, and someone coming in as maybe Nora Soap or Nivea saying they want to go into soap. So those are threat of new entrants coming in. Bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of buyers, the forces of demand and supply, and threat of substitute products. So these are the issues bedeviling the competition of a company based on Porter's 5 forces. So it's a powerful tool for understanding power dynamics and long-term profitability in a sector of a business. So the power dynamics and fighting for your market share is what this is all about. So the strongest forces determine the industry profitability and are key for strategy. So the coming of Pop Cola in the north, and we have the existence of rival competitors like Pepsi Cola and Coca-Cola. Those have been age-long and long-time rivals in the market of beverages. So these forces determine the market share, and they also influence prices, they influence costs and investment decisions. So the strength also vary by industry depending on the products. So this model helps us identify competitive positioning, potential new positions that are created by new entrants, and profitability of new offerings, that's new products coming into the market, and where the power lies. It can also be identified as strengths and weaknesses which are internal, and also potential mistakes of those companies will culminate in handing over their market share or some to rivals. So Porter's 5 forces model diagram illustrates 5 forces and their interaction. So there's this diagram in the case study text that just speaks to those 5 forces. And the industry competition is shaped by economic and technical characteristics. And these intense forces reduce or increase profitability. So for example, how will I put it? Hospitality industries, for example, hotels, textiles, and airlines. Yes, please. I saw Julie's hand up. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to take it back a bit. Okay. I learned that it's important that if they ask about any analysis of these models, that we should draw the diagram.
Yes,
at the appendix. Yes, at the appendix. Okay. So does PESTEL have a diagram? Does SWOT have a diagram? Does Porter's forces have a diagram?
Okay, so I know a Porter's forces diagram, but PESTEL and SWOT, I'm not aware. I'm not sure it has, based on the study text I read, it doesn't. So it's those components that you just write and summarize their sub-components or sub-parts, yes. But for Porter, there's a diagram, short diagram speaking to those 5 components. Yeah, so but for SWOT and PESTEL, they don't. Not that I'm aware of.
Another question, if they ask about such models, are we supposed to talk about the models first? We have to define them and talk about the models first before we start relating it to the case study.
Exactly. So if you are using my approach, the approach I use in headers and subheaders, so under component 2 of the header, you can talk about the model, and that's professional tools. So if you are asked to use a professional tool like Porter's 5 sources, so after you've done the general overview of either requirement 2 or requirement 1, the second component or second header where you use professional tools and you are saying analysis of the model, you can talk about the Porter's 5 forces there. So speak to 5 of them under one point each. So you're talking of rivalry, existing rivalry, that's a point. Then threat of new entrants, second point. Bargaining power of suppliers, of buyers. And the 5th one, you could speak to them in that header. So if you're not using that pattern to stop your question, you can just generally write on those 5 components as describe them before integrating them with the case at hand. So yes, explain them first briefly, don't waste too much time, because that is 4 marks. Then integrating them with the case is another 4 marks, which is 8 marks.
Okay. Sir, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Yes, please.
Sir, that drawing, is it a must?
You said?
Is a must we draw? That drawing that Mrs. Juliana said, is it a must that we must draw these models?
No, it's advised at the appendix so that the examiner knows that you know the model. So it's advised to do that at the appendix. So at the appendix, after the explanation, so it's possible yes, in the appendix. So it's possible he didn't ask you to do any calculations. So in the appendix, just draw the model. Draw it and put that diagram. Let him see that you understand the model. But in the explanation aspect, you just speak to it. Yes. It's advised.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, it's advised. All right. So looking at the industry competition of the Porter's 5 forces, the hospitality industry, the textile industry, and the airline are intense forces that if you make any mistake, it will reduce your profitability. So talking about hotels, there are some 5-star hotels like Bristol in Kano, we have Tahir in Kano, and we have Prince Hotel in Kano. Those are the 5-star hotels I know. So any mistake one makes drives customers to another one in Kano. So those 5-star hotels are very careful to maintain their market share, especially where there are activities, weekends, parties, influx of the high and mighty in the market or in the town. So the hospitality industry is vulnerable to these forces, and they have to be careful to maintain their share. The textile industry also is volatile, and airlines also. If Airpeace makes a mistake today, people will go for Asman in the north. If Asman does this, I'm going to A Random. Random makes this, they move to Max. So the competition is stiff in the airline industry, especially local flights and all that. Yes, please go ahead. Please interject freely. Let's understand your thoughts. I think, Julie, you're trying to say something.
No, I didn't say anything. I was just trying to concur what you were saying.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Okay, so weak forces allow higher profitability. For example, software, soft drinks, toiletries. So weak forces allow higher profitability, and where you have perfect substitutes for softwares, for soft drinks, like we spoke of Coke and toilet rolls, but they have to be careful not to lose their market share. So it's applicable to various businesses, including agriculture, industry structure, sets long-term profitability by these models. So the principles of Porterfield's forces, looking at the, threat of new entrants. Barrier to entry is influenced by economies of scale, the largeness of your capital, the base, and how you are able to come into the market big. So it's largely influenced by the economies of scale. So coming to compete with maybe a hospitality company like Bristol or Tahiri can be very influencing if you don't have some level of capital or funding. And also product differentiation. Some people are loyal to some particular brands. They will never stay in some hotels except a particular one because of their experience. So product differentiation also determines the threat of new entrants. Also capital requirements, the funds, and also switching cost for buyers. That's why they remain loyal to a particular brand. The switching cost may not be palatable for them. Also cost disadvantages independent of scale, the location, the patents to that product or services, and experience also determine it. Also access to distribution channel, looking at the product you are after, it's another factor. Also government policies, licensing, subsidies are factors that affect new entrants. Also expected retaliation from existing competitors. In the market, there are serious competition and retaliations also. They come up with decisions to affect each other and also to drive market share. So jockeying for positions among current competitors, rivalry is the case, looking at the Porter's 5 forces. So intensity determined by number of size of competitors, the products, their differentiation, and the cost of switching to another product, and also some fixed costs determine this rivalry very, very seriously. So high rivalry can erode in this industry value. One of the several factors determining industry attractiveness in this model is bargaining power of buyers. So if you are a consumer, it's powerful if you'll be able to orchestrate, and large volume purchases are driven by one person or a few individuals. Also undifferentiated products, low switching cost could be a low reason for them, and they are able to saddle those costs. There are some people that will not ride a car except it's Mercedes-Benz, no matter the cost, and they keep upgrading it every year. So the bargaining power of buyers of such products, they will tell you they are allergic to riding Honda cars. It's not German Benz or American Ford, they will not ride it. So they don't care the switching cost, they don't share the competition, they will saddle that cost. So the bargaining power of buyers speaks to that and can force down prices and also demand high quality. So some can force down prices based on their bargaining power, and some can also, due to the demand of higher quality, and also bargain, and this will influence the situation in the market. Also, concentration of size, buyer information, competition, concentration and differentiation is also a factor on bargaining power of buyers. Okay, so the other component is bargaining power of suppliers is determined by concentration size relative to the industry and degree of input differentiation. So those supplying also have this component at their fingertips, their prices, their size, and what they ask for also from the buyers determine the power of the buyer, and also charging price based on value they provided. So the value proposition is what drives suppliers' output. And if the input is crucial, then the industry will be successful. So suppliers also do that. The makers of Mercedes-Benz will always drive value. So for example, Toyota wanted to compete with a high brand car in the US. So they came up with Lexus. Many people don't know Lexus belongs to Toyota, but then that luxury nature of Lexus made them come up as suppliers to tackle another brand, because they know Toyota has gone rival. If they produce that same car under the brand name Toyota, they may not be able to supply to some particular brand of customers. So they differentiated that product to penetrate the market and supply at a particular price for luxury buyers. So I know, I'm sure some of us are hearing it for the first time that Lexus belongs to Toyota. Some of us also know anyway, but then it's to drive industry success and competition. Okay, so the last one is the threat of substitute products driven by limited price ceilings. Substitutes perform the same function and can offer cost reduction. I ride the Honda car and I'm on the road with you that ride Benz. It's just that my Honda is not as strong as your Benz, but then we're on the same road. So I have a substitute product. Improve performance anyway. If I want a better brand or a higher version, I'll go for the latest model. Or I'm looking for better value, often through technological upgrade and all that. So the threat of substitute products are also an issue in the market, and is affected by relative price to performance and buyer switching costs. Porter 5's forces pro forma and critical questions we need to ask. Provide examples of questions to consider for each of the 5 forces in an organizational analysis. So the firms are organized around activities that add value, especially to Porter's 5 forces. So looking at those 5 components, a sharp example will help us harness that briefly. So let's talk of a coffee shop. Let's look at a coffee shop, maybe someone that likes Nescafe and he has a coffee shop, is considering expanding into a specialty coffee market in a highly competitive city. There are some people that are addicts to coffee. So the first thing you should look at is threat of new entrants. So a local coffee shop will be looking at threats of new entrants, and this risk is high because the specialty coffee market has low entry barriers. So low capital requirement to start a coffee shop, and you easily access suppliers. And however, you need to look at the branding and customer loyalty are critical differentiators. So new entrants, you've looked at it as a high risk area. Then for bargaining power of suppliers of high quality coffee are limited but not scarce. So you can switch suppliers, and premium quality coffee are crucial for customer satisfaction. So bargaining power of suppliers could be moderate. Then bargaining power of buyers could be high also. Customers have a wide range of choices, from big coffee chain to small coffee chain shops. So the bargaining power of buyers can be looked at that customers can easily switch if prices are too high or the experience is subpar or below the level. Actually, customer experience is very important for such coffee addicts. And threat of substitutes, we look at substitutes such as other drinks, maybe like energy drinks, tea, or homemade coffee. You decide to start making your coffee at home, could easily replace the need for outside coffee shops. So those are threat of substitutes. We look at industry rivalry as a very high risk. The market for coffee is crowded. New independent coffee shops, competitors often engage in price wars, reducing it, increasing it to drive loyalty programs and differentiate experiences to attract customers. So the coffee shop can decide based on this information or this model applied to focus on creating a unique customer experience. People will always go towards a brand because of how they feel and what they experience from that brand. So offering personalized services like free coffee classes to differentiate itself from other larger chains or new entrants. They can also negotiate better terms with suppliers to manage costs without compromising quality. So this is how to integrate a decision you're trying to make on the coffee market. I just use that as a practical scenario to buttress the Porter's 5 forces model. Okay, so I think I'll have to stop here. It's like